And you are the engineer responsible for the tuning of this.
Yeah, I'm in charge of vehicle dynamics for all SRTs, and I actually did the Charger and the Challenger for 2015 myself.
All right, so let's start with the basics. What's different between this one and the Challenger?
Well, what's different is the springing.
Yep.
There's a little lighter spring on this car. We did increase the spring rates from the non-supercharged Challenger to manage the mass on the front, to keep the ride frequencies the same, but the rear springs are the same. And we didn't put bigger sway bars on it. We did get new sway bars. We used to have a 30 millimeter front and an 18 millimeter rear since 2012. And we went to a 32 millimeter hollow front and a 19 millimeter hollow rear, which saved, more than 15 pounds, but it has the same stiffness as the old solid bars.
So what's the weight difference? Is there a difference between this and the Challenger? Is one heavier than the other?
The Challenger's about 50 pounds lighter, and it's mostly on the back.
All right.
Because of the wheelbase difference.
And why no manual on the Charger?
Well, we just don't see. That's more a marketing question.
Yeah.
But
you've got the manual,
marketing
right?
guys haven't determined that we can make a business case for it.
Yeah,
and it would be great. I would love to have a manual too, but actually, it's not as easy as you think. We'd have to change the pedal box and some of the floor pan in order to put a manual transmission in this car. It doesn't actually just drop in.
Like you think it would.
Because it was not designed for the manual transmission like the Challenger was.
Now, one of the things that you guys have said is that this is more of a sports car and the Challenger is more of a muscle car.
Yeah, sports sedan. Yeah, to compete with the European
sports car.
Yep.
And the only car I can think of that this competes with directly in a way is the M5.
Well, I think there's some AMGs that are pushing 200 miles an hour, and I'm very impressed with the Jag, the XFRS, and those are pretty sweet high output sedans.
Right, 560 horsepower, I believe.
Yeah, man, they're fast, and those are nice cars, and we wanted to take this car, hopefully take that car to where people would consider it as a competitor against that. And the great thing about these cars is at the $60,000 price range. I mean, every Escalade you see rolling down the road is at least 80 grand. This is an attainable car for normal people if they want it, and you can drive it every day. I mean, it's not unreasonable to drive this car in the snow with the 4-season tires. It's not unreasonable to drive this car every day. It's surprised. What impressed me the most when we finally got done with it was just how tractable and how it's not crazy to have this engine in the car.
But it's just crazy to have a 707 horsepower engine.
Well, but it's amazing how usable it is. It's work drive, but it does
that. You know what? Crazy, if I'm being honest, but it's cool.
All right. Well,
okay.
yeah.
And then there's this other thing, right? Anything kind of beyond 500 horsepower is just enough to scare the pants off of you, right? And that, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous about to go out on the track. That's why we're wearing the helmets, because 707 horsepower is a lot of power, and this is an old school tight track.
Oh, but it's got a long straight. We'll be going at least 140 on the straightaway, man. We'll be hauling ass.
All right, you just let me know when to brake.
Brake at the 5, please.
I don't want to go off on this thing, and I am not a race car driver. I don't pretend to be one. I'm just lucky enough to go out on these crazy racetracks in these crazy cars. Can you believe if I had told you 10 years ago that you'd be sitting in Dodge with 707 horsepower that seats 5, right? You'd be like, you're crazy, dude. And here we are. We're in it.
Absolutely. I mean, 11-second quarter miles, easily attainable by everybody in these things. I mean, our slower car has merely 485 horsepower and runs 12.5 in the quarter. I used to have an 87 5-liter Mustang when I got out of college. Yeah. And that was a fast car and ran 14.4.
All right. Let's talk about some of the specs. I noticed you got Brembos. What size?
We've got 15.4-inch rotors on the front. I've got smaller rotors on my Neon, or smaller wheels on my Neon.
I know.
Big 6-pot Brembos. We've got actually the same 4-pot Brembo on the rear as we have on the cars that aren't Hellcats. Slotted rotors that clean the pad up. We're running on the street pads as the car comes from the factory out here at the track.
And what are the tires?
The tires are 275, 40, 20 Pirelli P0s, rated for 200 miles per hour. Again, we have the world's only 200 mile per hour rated 4-season tire. If you live in the Rust Belt states like I do, that's it's rated to go that fast. It's perfectly reasonable on the car. It does lay a little more rubber than the P0 though.
Yeah, you know, that's the one thing after having driven the Challengers, I just felt needed more rubber in the back. There's just so much power and torque coming out of that engine.
Well, but part of the thing about this tire, the way we've designed it, is that's part of the tractability of the car. You know, it's a nice progressive feel, and it's pretty easy to manage the tire when you're at the limits of adhesion. It's pretty easy to manage the car. Oh, it is. It's one of those things, and also, you know, there are some constraints on this platform on how big a tire we can put on it.
Now let's talk about some of the kind of the staggering numbers. How fast at full boil will it suck up the fuel tank?
Oh gosh, isn't it? I think it's
like 13
minutes. 13? Yeah, and I did the top speed run. I drove the 204 mile per hour run.
Yeah.
We were 200 at Transportation Research Center, which is the only track we could find in the country where we could go flat out and cancel out wind effects, because our 5 mile ovals can't contain this car. It slides at 185 in the banking.
Wow.
And I need 2 miles to get the last 10 miles an hour out of the car on the straightaway. It takes 4 miles to top out the car, so you're not going to do it on a runway. And then you got to stop. So at TRC, we ran 207 with the wind, 202 into the wind in the Charger, and
did you see the fuel gauge going down?
You could watch the fuel gauge going down, and held the hammer down for a little over 10 miles in 3 minutes and without lifting. And I have data to prove it, right? You know, race car drivers, right? Oh, I didn't lift. No, I got a throttle signal shows we didn't lift, and that's just football field per second. But the other thing we did at the aero on the car is, the aero is part of the vehicle dynamics tuning. You're flying the car as much as you're driving it on the tires at those kind of speeds. And we have the right front to rear lift coefficient balance, so that the rear actually has downforce, and the car doesn't change at speed. A lot of cars destabilize with speed. Our goal at SRT is always to have the car be the same at 150 miles an hour than it is at 70 and 80 miles per hour. And this car really is. It feels the same doing lane changes at 150 miles an hour as it does at 80.
And the windows don't pop out?
No, windows don't pop out.
And what's the fuel economy? You got numbers on this yet?
I think we're 21 on the highway.
Yep.
With this, and I've done it.
But you got the gas guzzler tax,
takes
right?
a lot of restraint. You know what? I should put this in valet mode for your drive.
Okay, here we go. Floored.
Track mode, traction control gets control of things. Well, here we are. We're going 80 miles an hour at the start-finish line after pulling out.
I did 100.
Oh, you're at 115.
And I'm not gonna flog this like you would, because I don't want to put this off. I just want to kind of experience the car without killing us.
Well, and this is not, the thing about driving a real high-powered car like this is you want to drive it like a high-powered, Australian touring cars. You ever watch the pedal cams?
Yep.
You're not going to be at watt at the apex like you do in a low-powered car. The goal is to modulate, keep your current speed up, and be at wide-open throttle at the drive-out point of the turn.
Was it hard to get an 8-speed into this?
No, we designed it for the 8-speed from the beginning.
Oh, nice.
It's a very wide transmission, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Got a lot of room between the gears.
It's just very wide in the tunnel. You want to get on the left side of the track.
I noticed that, yeah.
And but we're really happy with 8-speed, and then how we can program. We can do shifts in 100 milliseconds. So in track mode, you notice how it's just banging gears like an old-fashioned shift kit. But when you're not in track mode, things are more calm and more sedate and just fine for street driving. And with our adaptive shocks, how much body roll you get, right? It's cornered pretty flat.
It's really flat.
And it does have less stiff sway bars than the Challenger.
I'm trying to be really smooth.
Oh, you're a little behind, though. You better get over online. There you go. Get her in. Then you can pull the trigger. Just make sure you brake at the bridge.
Okay.
But we have forged wheels, big brakes. It's just so great. I'm spoiled by working at SRT, because working at SRT, I get hardware that the normal car guys don't get, right? I get these awesome brakes, I get these awesome tires, I get these awesome shocks from Bilstein,
All right, here we go. Full out. I got it to the metal. 110.
Get to about 40. 25 at the start-finish line. Hit the brakes at the 5. Bam, 142.
Oh, I could have broke a lot later. Look at that. This has so much more to give. I know you were braking for me.
I did. I know. I can't resist.
Well, I think when you're driving it yourself, you just feel like you have a lot more control than when somebody else is driving it.
Yeah. All these years in racing, I'm still not the greatest rider.
It feels really neutral,
It is.
And I'm not pushing it by any means.
Well, a good handling car should be neutral. One of our philosophies, our ethos at SRT is we don't dumb the car down for the lowest common denominator driver, which is why it makes you look bad if you make a mistake. We're not going to put a bunch of understeer in the car so that the lowest common denominator driver has enough reserve grip in the rear to stand on it coming out of the turn. A proper handling car, you should be able to steer with the throttle by not only applying throttle, but lifting off the throttle. And the other thing is we're just getting all the work out of the tires. And it makes this big car feel much more nimble because it is more nimble, because it's a more neutral setup. But SRTs don't drive the car for you. This isn't a Nissan GTR, right? You got to drive this car, and it's going to make you look bad if you're driving bad.
Almost got behind again there.
Yeah, you got a little behind. Yeah. But you're doing okay.
Brake at the bridge, right?
Brake at the bridge, please. You should be doing about $120.
Yeah.
Oh, you broke way before the bridge.
I know.
But the elevation change and everything. So we have hydraulic power steering on the Hellcat.
Oh, really?
But we actually have electric power steering on the Apaches. And what's funny is everybody likes to bitch about electric power steering, but it's really come a long ways. And electric power steering is pretty cool. And we have that part of our modes on the Apaches. Bam, 143.
Yeah.
No sweat. And I'll tell you, this thing pulls hard up to 180. It's amazing. We do 178 in the standing mile in the Charger. 178 miles an hour, man.
Right,
That's a fun test to run, too.
I got a Hellcat up my ass. I'm going to have to speed up a little bit.
Did you get the checker?
Yeah.
Okay. It's cool down lap. Remember, I'm a safety cop.
Oh, cool down. Okay. Right, never mind. No wonder I left him in the dust. I got to tell you, though, as much as I enjoy driving on the track, I kind of think that it's a lot more fun on the road just to have access to that much power. It just puts a huge smile on my face.
Well, we didn't make any of the Hellcats to be track weapons.
Yeah.
These are street cars. These are street machines. And because nobody else is doing that, everybody's making their highest output car. It's got basically track tires, track suspension. The tires aren't worth a damn below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You pay this big penalty. And, nobody was here with this high performance of a powertrain in a car that's completely reasonable. And what I find is how much fun it is. You just don't pay this penalty that you pay in other cars. And trust me, I love Vipers, right? I worked on the Viper. But this is so much different than the Viper, right?
Oh, it's a completely different.
For someone who, and I love purist cars too, but if I only had that one car, my God, this does everything.
Yeah.
But this is the bandwidth is what's amazing on these things, right? What they're capable of.
You know what sells me on the Challenger? It's that air intake in the headlight.
Well, the air intake is here. It's just behind the grill.
Oh, okay.
I'll show it to you.
All right, cool. I didn't know it was here.
Yeah, it still has. It needs it. The airbox needs the airflow, but we just hid it behind the grill.
Okay.
We didn't make it.
Yeah, that headlight thing is just so awesome.
Yeah.
And 30 years from now, these things are going to be selling for like $5 million.
I hope not. I hope we make enough of them and they're around, and it's just a great car. Because this is the kind of car that isn't that special. It's not that expensive. You should drive it every day. And enjoy it.
It's almost attainable for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife would say it's not attainable for me, but if I really wanted to have one of these,
you'd mortgage your kids.
I could sell half my stuff and I could get one of these things.
Yeah, get rid of some of the toys, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the hood. Let me see where that air intake is.
Okay.
Since we talked about it.
Yeah, sure.
We'll pop it open.
That's clear.
Yeah. Be quick.
Okay. So you can see right here, the duct is right there.
Okay.
And if we go into the grill, it's actually right here.
Oh, you can see it, yeah. So it comes in right there, yeah. That's cool.